Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Vince Devall with Eagle Homes, powered by eXp Realty, and I'm here with Mr.
Brad Brewer, and you have just joined us on the Eagles Nest podcast.
We are back for our second part of this series, the BRRRR method.
Originally a three-part series. We don't know how many series it's going to be now.
Yeah. The BRRRR method is going to be a two-part investment series, and then we'll go into house hacking, rental properties, things like that. I think we can drag this on for like 12 parts. Who knows?
Like we said, it's probably not going to be just three parts.
Probably not. So we left off last week here. We covered the first two of the BRRRR method, the buy and the rehab. This week, I knew we're going to get to rent, refinance, repeat. So we'll see where we go. But
yeah,
let's start. Quick recap. Buying rehab. I think the biggest key takeaway from that is make sure you're getting it. Make sure you're sticking to your guns on your investment cost, right? Mm-hmm. And then also stick to your guns on your rehab, like what it looks like, and make sure you're accounting for everything. Brad's got a really cool spreadsheet calculator that is very helpful when it comes to breaking down like the cost of, everything you need in a bathroom or all the, widgets you need in your kitchen.
The bottom line is, as far as the whole rehab piece, is you make money on the buy. Stick to your guns on the buy. If it doesn't fit your numbers, the likelihood is you should not buy it. And then avoid the case of the might as wells. I might as well do this. I might as well do that. And then you might as well have just decided to lose money, because you might anyway.
Maybe might as well. So let's, so the third part of the BRRRR method, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. We're going to talk about rent this morning. And this is also where you start to make some money at. Now, there are three different types of rentals: short, mid, and long-term rentals. And it's kind of funny. I was at my daughter's fifth birthday is coming up on Wednesday, but we had some of her friends over with their parents, and we're sitting around, we're talking, and it's midterm rentals are kind of, they've been around for years, but they're starting to really, take over the rental industry a little bit in certain areas, right? So go ahead.
Let's start by defining what would be considered a midterm rental, what types of people would be in there, so people understand what their clientele is going to look like.
Yeah. So midterm rental are anywhere from 3 months up to 6 to 9 months. But typically 3 to 6 months they're in a property. And those type of clients are, traveling nurses, traveling doctors, professionals that are, being relocated, military. If someone's being relocated, we're real close to Great Lakes Naval Base. And so if they're being relocated from, say, the southeast part of the states and up here to the Great Lakes, they could come up here looking for a place for 3 months while they are selling their house down wherever they're at, or up wherever they're at. And then
large construction
products.
Yep. Got a buddy lives down in Indianapolis that he does that. He's on so theirs can be longer. They're on projects for more than a year, but he sets them up with what would be considered a midterm rental.
Yeah, right here in Burlington, Nestle, it has a contractor coming in. They have a 1.5-year contract, and they were looking for a place between Lake Geneva out to Elkhorn, somewhere to keep them within 30 minutes of Burlington. But they were the 1.5-year contract. So I guess it just all depends. Mm-hmm. But I guess the best thing about them is they're usually somebody that typically already owns a home.
Yep.
They probably already own a home, so they understand what it means to take care of a house, right? It's not your month-to-month leasers or your full lease tenants that can't afford a house or can't don't have the credit to buy a house or savings. So so it kind of varies, but think of professionals that need a place to stay for as low as 3 months to 1.5 years, 2 years, whatever it might be, depending on the project they're working on.
So should we go into benefits for those types of clients? Maybe downside, depending on how you look at it. And you as the landlord, the owner, your prep needs.
Yeah.
I know you can speak to all of that. 'cause
Yeah.
You're doing that right now with one of yours.
Yeah, so we're the wife and I are looking at turning one of our properties into a midterm rental. So let's talk downside first. Downside is that it's a huge financial investment.
Yep.
Okay, even though you already have the place, so let's say you have a regular long-term rental and you want to turn it into a midterm rental. Now, this downside can relate to not just midterm, but also short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are your Airbnbs, VRBOs. I have a tendency to abbreviate to STRs, so short-term rental. But the biggest downside to those is you have to furnish them. And what's really cool is working with a lady and her company, and she put together this kick-ass spreadsheet for me that broke down what you need in a living room, what you need in the kitchen, bedrooms, baths. And you don't think about you don't think about an ironing board and an iron, right? But her list breaks that down for me, and it's kind of neat. I'm like,
My wife would say they never have the wine opener.
there you go. Another must have.
It's her pet peeve.
And it's probably one of the first things that disappears. Don't buy the $50 wine opener, get the little corkscrew,
Yeah,
the
the
$15 one.
or the $3 one.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. The one, as long as it works, it's all that matters. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter the cost. Well. Keep
So-
it. Anyway.
So that's probably the biggest downside to a midterm rental is you have to kind of furnish the whole thing. So it's a huge upfront cost. Now, the positive, and then another thing with midterm and short-term rentals, you have to take in consideration because people are going, oh, well, yeah, I'm already getting $1,200 or let's say $1,500 for round numbers. I'm already getting $1,500 a month for my long-term tenant. What's it look like for a midterm? Can I get $2,000 a month? Yeah, you might be able to get $2,000 a month, and this lady we're working with has her own calculator spreadsheets. But you then have to keep in mind you are paying electric, you're paying the water, the heat, gas, utility. You have to have Wi-Fi there. So even though it has to make sense from the long-term tenant to the midterm rental or even the short-term rental on kind of taking on those new costs.
Yeah, those things that normally a long-term tenant, everything from all the utilities, including TV,
Right.
they're not gonna set up their whatever, a lot of people run streaming services now.
Yeah.
So whether it's YouTube TV, whatever. You have to at least provide something like that, so, and then the furnishings on it, so you're providing, the monthly expenses are taken off to you, so you have to increase your amount to more of a gross. In a commercial rental, they talk gross versus triple net factors in taxes and utilities and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you're gonna cover all that stuff, so your bills, your monthly expenses are gonna go up. So for that reason, you have to charge more than you do on your long-term.
Yep.
Standard, 12-month lease person that's gonna put the utilities in their name, stuff like that.
Right.
I would imagine that's, especially with the management side, that's probably something she recommends.
Oh yeah.
So it gives you more control of it.
Right.
I'd say another positive just wear and tear.
Yep.
You're talking about something that's coming, they don't usually don't know a lot of people. They're not vacationers, so comparing, your normal short-term, your midterm versus your short-term, which is usually your vacation, your Verbos, Airbnb type stuff. They're usually not part of it.
Right.
There's not gonna be, the cleaning expenses shouldn't be too bad, right? So, not saying someone couldn't. Especially if they're here in 9 months, sure, they're gonna know people, maybe they like to throw a party. Your percentage of chances of things being broken are just a lot less.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, and
they're working a lot, usually, those types
Yeah.
of people, they're working a lot because, if they're here for 9 months, boy, if they can get their project done sooner, get home to their family sooner, save their company money.
Yep.
Maybe they're incentivized that way. There's a lot of incentives for someone that's short-term. They're like, get in, let's get our job done.
Yep.
And I can go home.
Yeah, and usually they're paying a 3-month lease or 6-month lease, whatever it might be. That financial stipend is coming from a large company. It's not like you're worried about them, trying to work day to day to pay their rent. So that's another positive to that.
Another good chance too, if you got your company paying for it, that they're not gonna tear the place up. That's not gonna be looking good.
Correct. You know, and midterm rental, just like a short-term rental, the cleaning fee is wrapped into the wrapped into their monthly charge, right? So at the end of the thing, they're gonna charge you $250 as a cleaning fee, just like VRBO and short-term rentals do on their website.
Yep.
So it's not really coming off your, you know, your top dollar amount. So which is kind of nice. Now, some of the things I'm learning with midterm rentals is as they're here, they also want, you know, some of the ways to make your property stand out to others is offer different, maybe a membership somewhere. So like if you're here, you can go to, you know, the YMCA, here's the pass, you can go to the YMCA and use their pool, use their fitness facility, whatever. Now, you got to negotiate that with say the Y or a fitness center or whatever, but it's whatever you can do to drive more need for your property and rent for your property could be very beneficial. So midterm rentals are, like I said, they're becoming more and more popular also because company or cities, townships, counties are starting to crack down on short-term rentals. And I think the short-term rental market is starting to become a little more saturated in some areas.
Mhm.
So, you know, great example of Lake Geneva. They only allow your short-term rental up to 6 months. And then you have to do something else with it, maybe turn into a midterm rental or turn into a long-term rental. So that's what a lot of people are doing in areas is, you know, they're turning short-term rental during their peak season and then midterm rental during off season. And it seems a great way to play that part of the game, which is good. I had another thought too, just skipped my mind. But let's talk anything else on midterm rentals, Brad, that you could think of. Brad,
No,
try to multitask.
I think that's pretty much a
Yeah.
good summation. I mean,
Occupancy rate. That's where I was gonna go.
there you go.
Occupancy rate. So short-term rental, depending on the area, and there's great websites out there for everybody that wants to figure out what short-term rental occupancy rate could be for you. One of them is Air DNA. The word airdna.co. Great website. You can put an address in. It'll pull the information up for you and it'll say this house is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. In this area will be a 60% occupancy. So that can kind of help you figure out your numbers and things like that, which is huge. So you can help figure out what you want to buy the house for if you're looking at purchasing, what your rental income could be, and then what your occupancy rate is.
hey, real quick question, because I just went to that site.
Yeah.
When you gave it to me, says log in or sign up. Just for everybody knows out there. Does that sign up cost you anything? You know?
No, you can do the free version. So I have the free version. It gives you a lot of data.
Okay.
Now you can pay for the you can buy like cities.
Mhm.
For whatever it is, $19.99, you can get Lake Geneva, right? And just gives you a little more data on. So the occupancy rate obviously is an average. If you pay for the version, you can get occupancy rate based on the month, right? So January 1st to February 1st occupancy rate, maybe Lake Geneva is only 19%, but June 1st to July 1st, it's 82%. So it gets you that occupancy rate for a lower number. So short-term rental versus midterm rental, your occupancy rate typically is going to be a lot higher. If you work with a great company, what they will do is they will, if your lease is going to be up, say September 1st, they're already lining up somebody to get in there September 1st. So if if your tenant's going to be out August 31st at 10 a.m., the next tenant could check in September 1st or August 31st at 3 p.m. So it is really nice with the midterm occupancy rates. They're typically a lot higher than your short term.
Yes.
So let's go into long term.
Yeah.
What are some upsides to long term, Brad?
Upside to long term, I think they're a little bit kind of clear. It's going to be a little bit opposite to maybe I'd say they're opposite of the short-term rentals.
Yeah.
You don't have that turnover, you don't have the constant, cleaners coming in that have to clean. Probably not as often as you're gonna have to do the repairs on if there's some damage or maintenance that needs to be done just because of type of, short-term tenant that's coming in. So I think those are the consistency, easier to budget,
Yeah.
if you get a good qualified tenant in there that's, pays their rent on time, pays all the other utilities that they have to pay that don't come back on you. 'Cause, if you got water, sewer, if your tenant doesn't pay it, they're supposed to, who gets the notification in the mail? You as the landlord, so.
Yeah.
There's just a lot more like predictability about your income and your expenses that way.
Yep.
Other than, like any home, furnace goes out,
You're screwed.
Well, you hope you're not screwed. Well, he just went totally down on that one. So I think those are that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Is that consistency and the predictability of your income expenses with long term.
Yeah.
Um,
The one, and speaking firsthand, one downside to long term, right, is it's sometimes harder to get in there and, do updates, do repairs. If you got, flooring that's going bad and your tenant's in there for, is in there for another year and you're like, oh man, let's get in and get this flooring done. Or they, we have a tenant in one of our units right now has been there for 13 years, I think it is. And so it's really hard, it's really hard to get in there, say, all right, hey, we want to update your kitchen, or we want to update your bath, or, flooring. Or if something, we had to do that at the bathroom. There was a leak in some plumbing and the bathroom's on the second floor. And, we didn't want to put a Band-Aid on it, but we also wanted to make sure that it was done right. So he was without a bathroom 2 days, maybe. Now let me clarify. He was without a shower less than 24 hours. And he had another toilet downstairs. So it wasn't like he didn't have a place to go, number one or number two. He just had to, walk downstairs to do it when the
Correct.
bathroom was getting remodeled. So
Correct.
yeah.
And that is the downside, because, when those repairs have to be done, it's an inconvenience, but I guess that's where they understand at least you have a landlord who's
willing to do that
willing
stuff.
to do that stuff. Because there are some that would make you wait till you move out. You live with it and I'll do it. At whatever point you move out. So you're gonna deal with any inconvenience just like a homeowner would deal with inconvenience. Now, if I'm gonna remodel my bathroom and I make that choice, well, I mean,
Right.
if it's planned out and plenty of notice is given, you deal with it, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah. So that's probably one of the things. And then one of the biggest things on a long-term rental, when you have long-term rentals, you have to decide, are you going to allow pets? What are they paying for as tenants? Pets, I'm learning the hard way. Like next time we do long-term rentals, no pets. And let's be honest, you can get in Wisconsin, you can't call it a pet deposit. You have to call it a pet fee, right? So there's a pet fee to have a pet, and like a one-time fee, and then there's a monthly pet fee typically too, anywhere from $50 to $100 depending on what you want to charge. You have that pet fee. Now pets, just like humans, can destroy a house or ruin flooring, and you really have to take that into consideration. We have a unit that is going to get new flooring in one of the parts because we're not sure if it was the pet or the human, but let me just tell you, you shouldn't iron on laminate flooring.
No, I think a couple things to remember along with pets is, and this is I think every landlord's different. I think their expertise, their comfortability with different types of animals is different. So let's go cats. A lot of apartment complexes, they'll let you do cats and they'll let you dogs. I'm one of those that's total opposite. There's this old saying, because cats, he has that ammonia in it. There's that old saying, what do you do if a cat pees, in the closet in your place? Burn it down. It's never getting that out.
Right.
Dogs are just a little, their pee for, it just isn't as bad.
Yeah. Don't know why that is, but
you clean it up, it's just not as bad. It doesn't have ammonia smell. I don't know why they're different. That's the difference between cats and dogs, I guess. So this could be the difference between men and women. Who knows? I don't know where that came from. Anyway, but I would allow dogs. Now, I would limit dog size.
Yeah.
I would limit number of dogs.
Oops.
You can't have 4 and 5. I'd probably go 2 tops. And then size, just because, and I love, and this is an example, and
This is a preference thing.
I'm not knocking them. I love labs,
Yeah.
Labrador retrievers. I think they're a beautiful dog. When they're puppies, granted, it's all comes down to good training and stuff like that, but when they're puppies, they tend to chew up a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of puppies do, so you
Yeah.
gotta be careful with what that is. And you hope you have a tenant, if you're gonna allow it, that is either gonna pay for it, or they're just a little extra cautious when they have the puppy.
Right.
So
Right.
that was my preference. I'd probably allow it personally as a landlord. I know there are some that everybody always prefers no pets,
Yeah.
but as a dog lover, I'm gonna have a soft spot for someone who wants a dog.
Well, and with that being said, midterm rentals, right? Midterm, short-term rentals, it's one of those things you won't have to worry about. A lot of people aren't traveling with their pets for work.
Yeah.
They're at a job for, working 12-hour days, get the job knocked out, and then they're back,
Yeah,
they're at
and
home.
I feel bad sometimes because I'm just not a cat person, and I've been in homes where people have had cats. You wouldn't even know unless you saw the
Yeah.
cat. Smell wise, you'd never know there was a cat living there.
Yeah.
And those are wonderful examples. It's just the downside with Cat Peak it's like the total opposite. So that's just,
Yeah.
those are all things as a landlord, you have to take into consideration. What if I allow a cat, if I allow a dog, what are my upsides and downsides, just like the type of renter you're gonna choose.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
I think you gotta just take into consideration.
And look, long-term rentals, you gotta make sure you're screening those tenants too. You wanna make sure you do your due diligence.
Mhm.
When you are bringing tenants in, what's their rental history look like? What's their, employment history look like? If you got Mr. Brad here and he's jumped from one job to another job, he's on his 5th job this year, and you're like, oh, I mean, why does this guy keep jumping jobs? He's got no stability. Is this someone I really want to rent to? Right. Also keeping in mind fair housing laws. You can't discriminate based on race, sex, religion, all those good things. Even as a landlord, you cannot discriminate. But you need to do your due diligence and making sure that credit's good, they have the income, they have the job. If you're charging $2,000 a month and they're only making $3,000, bringing home $3,000 a month, are they really going to be able to afford living in your place? And a lot of people are like, well, $1,000 is a lot, but if they're also, putting the utilities in their name, gas to and from work nowadays, cost of living is not cheap. So
Yeah.
really, really take that into mind. Anything else on renting your place out? I mean, we could talk about renting a place out for hours and the due diligence that goes behind it. But any other quick tips before we go into refinancing?
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing, because we really covered midterm and long term. The only thing on short term I just want to make clear is midterm's got some similarities to midterm, except you might have that little party and your place gets beat up with more. I would say positive. I don't think I mentioned, or we mentioned, maybe we did, but the good news is, like, your upsides for what you can charge for just a week. You can make it a week. Sometimes you can make it a weekend.
Yeah.
Or for 4 days, you make it a month. So
Yep.
you don't have to have it booked as solid to make the same money
Correct. So
for the short term.
good point.
So that's the only thing I'd say, we just laid them out, and there's more than we mentioned. There's positive and negatives. It's kind of like, what do you want as that landlord? Maybe you want to diversify portfolio as we get into the repeat part later on here. I think you just got to kind of understand what you want and what's best for you to start with. If this is your first one, I think there's a speaking to that long term.
Yeah.
So those are things you all got to weigh, analyze, and use your professionals, your property managers, your realtors, to just at least be a sounding board.
Yeah.
And help you run the numbers.
Yeah, and help you understand. So let's get into refinance real quick.
Mhm.
We have a few more minutes here, but once you have your property, and let's be honest, it's kind of tough right now to talk refinance because of rates.
Sure.
Some of us got rental properties at 3.25. Refinancing that might not be great. Now, can you take a HELOC loan, pull cash out to buy another property, whatever it might be? there's ways to do that, but the idea is you're gonna refinance so you can cash out with your equity and take that money and buy another property, right?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
do work or whatever, but you kind of want to continue to take that money and reinvest it into the next place. You don't want to pull that money out and go buy a new SUV because, that's the idea is you want to continue to build your portfolio, continue to, grow your generational wealth. That's the idea behind this. It's not about, oh, I did all this work. Now I have 100,000 in equity. Let's go on vacation to Vegas.
Here's the one thing I'd say on that, and to your point with typically, if you're gonna refinance one of your rental properties. And you got that you bought it when you could get that 3.25% interest rate. Well, you're not gonna get that, so if you're gonna do a cash out refi, it takes good cash to even put down on the other one, the next one. So then you might end up having two properties where your interest rate goes up on both, if you don't do the HELOC route.
Right.
It all comes down to the numbers. What are you gaining for that? Can you increase your rentals enough to cover that amount? To me, it's just, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the numbers. And that's where I think you really gotta heavily rely on a really good, solid loan officer.
Yep.
Or lending company that you're gonna use to help you look at, like, well, what does it look like if I do this versus this?
Right.
That's the biggest thing I'd say. That's where your financiers, you gotta go to one that says, all right, here's your differences. So I think you gotta really have a trusted lender.
Yeah. And with that being said, we have multiple different lenders we work with that, there's some we trust in, others I wouldn't throw my worst enemy at. So,
I hate to say it, but there's ones out there that just want to close another one so they get paid.
yep,
There's ones that, what I think, which is what good realtors do too, is like, well, this house isn't a good fit. I'm at least gonna give my opinion on it. But this doesn't meet the numbers right. I'm giving my opinion on it because I'd rather you not buy this one. And then, but then if you do, maybe you're not able to buy another one.
right,
Which how does long-term wise that the more you buy, the more that helps your realtor, because that's how we get paid is the commissions, of course. So we want especially our investor funds, you want them to be very successful. So you're gonna be extra cautious with them too, as your lendership.
right,
You want to make sure that they're always in the best financial position. Because that's when you get to the next topic, it's a segue at this point or not, but it's repeat.
repeat.
Like, that's the goal.
Yeah.
How do I take my cash that I've earned? Instead of throwing it into a new set of golf club, which would be tempting for both of us sitting here, let's not lie. Or, that new car, those things that don't appreciate, those things that depreciate.
We're gonna call them shiny objects.
First, the shiny objects.
Yep.
We all buy them.
Yeah.
So, let's not lie. It's like a home. There's certain things we've covered this. Certain things you do to your home that are gonna increase value. And there's certain stuff you're gonna do to your home that's just gonna be for you.
Yeah.
You don't even care if it adds value because this is my home that I'm living in.
Right.
There's just a difference when it's don't go for the shiny object.
So, talking about repeating, I think this is a great segue into next week's
Mhm.
topic of house hacking and what house hacking is and how it can benefit you to start this BRRRR method. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a great way. Maybe we should start with house hacking first and tie it into the BRRRR method because it would have been, the repeat cycle would have tied in. But next week we're going to tie in with house hacking and how you can house hack and use the BRRRR method and repeat and repeat and repeat. Especially young adults, that's a great opportunity for you to gain wealth, and build your portfolio without selling. So,
Well, and I mentioned this during the last week during the first part on the buy and the whole thing. What you want to get to is when I mentioned the 3 exit strategies. Not all the strategies are necessarily an exit from that property, it's an exit to do the repeat. So, whenever you buy an investment property of any type, and you can count your own home as this.
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna buy my home. Okay, what work am I gonna do to it that's gonna increase its value? Not just relying on the market appreciation, because we're, depending on who you talk to, we're a year to 2 to 3 to 4 years out from the market tape. And I'm very careful to say this, and I want to emphasize, I'm not going to use the words crash. That annoys me. Could be crash, sure. I guess we could. The indications are a dip. A dip is typically 1, 3, maybe 5%, I say tops as far as the debt. We're gonna get there. So what's my other exit strategy? How did I add value to either my home or my investment property? That if I chose to sell it, there's an exit. I rent it, there's an exit because I continue to earn income,
Right.
but I hang on to it. Or I refinance it, that's another exit. And then that makes everything what? Repeatable.
Yep.
As long as you're earning income that's continuing to increase your income on a property, increase your value on a property, you have various ways you can exit from that property, enter yourself into another one.
Right. Well, and okay, we'll end on this too. Investors or first time buyers are going like, why is that person selling that duplex when it's, it's probably making them $2,000 a month. Well, they're trying to find, that's an exit strategy. They're trying to find a way to take that equity they have in that property, maybe buy something, maybe buy a 4-unit, maybe buy two. Yeah, we can go and split that equity in a.
They may sell one, but they might buy 2 more.
Yeah,
You got 2 more.
Yeah.
Or you're like you said, a duplex has what? 2 doors.
Yep.
That's two places to earn income. Well, maybe I sell the 2 and I buy an 8.
Yeah. Yep.
And
it's just another way to kind of continue to grow that wealth. Take that money and maybe you were making $2,000 on that duplex and a great deal, but you are able to find an 8-unit and now you're able to make 4,000, right? You quadrupled your doors, you doubled your income. It's just that's how people get wealthy.
exactly.
So, all right, guys, this is Vince Devall with Eagle Homes, powered by EXP.
I'm Brad Brewer, all those same things he just said, like he does every week.
And this is the Eagles Nest Podcast. We'll see you next week for part 3 of our investing series. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
Part 3 of whatever.
Yeah, whatever.